Hello and welcome to the Sirkles Guide, Part 2. The majority of this video I'll be talking about sentences and punctuation, and then I'm going to get into some of the stuff I probably should have said in the first video about what this script actually is and what you can use it for and why it's so cool. Okay, so, sentences and punctuation. I'm going to actually bring this back up to the last thing we did last time in words and letters. And we drew this. This was a word, and the word was hair. Lovely word. And then I finished it by putting this double circle around the outside of it. So this circle with those little chunks taken out of it, and this circle without these little chunks taken out of it. And I've added something to this that wasn't there last time, other than making it a bit more circular instead of ovular. And those things are this. These little marks are punctuation marks. You can tell they're punctuation because they are between the outer and inner sentence circle, which is what these are. This is the inner sentence circle, and this is the outer sentence circle. And the punctuation kind of hangs out in between those. That's why I couldn't have the A inside that little divot last time. Okay? So let's go ahead and talk about what the different punctuation marks are now that we've talked about where we put them. So the first one is the period. The period is an open, bigger circle. This, by the way, that I'm kind of coloring in right now, is in fact the period of this sentence. I also noted you read sentences bottom counterclockwise just like you read words. So I'm going to grab my marker so I can highlight this. I'm going to talk through this sentence as I go through it. So this is the very bottom of the sentence. So you would start looking here for anything. Is there anything here? No, there isn't. I would put a quotation mark if it was the first thing you would read. I would put the quotation mark here. So this is the first word, and you start reading it here. And then you'd run into this first stem. This first stem is an omega. I'm going to go ahead and bring my little cheat sheet right next to me. An omega stem with, let's count the dots. 1 dot, 2 dots, 3 dots. Makes it a D. But then there's this little circle. This little circle is a vowel. And it is towards the middle a little bit, which makes it an O. So that is a D-O. And we continue reading. Oh, what's this mark? Oh, it doesn't stop on anything. There's no stems here. I don't know what that is. So let's go ahead and keep going past it. It might just be lines for something. Oh, hey, this is definitely a stem. It's a circle inside the circle. And it looks like it has one line that ends on it. Okay, so that makes it an N-D-O-N. Okay. Okay, now let's take a look at these lines again. It's a double line. I'm still not sure what this is. I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I'm sure you have a guess as to what it is, just out of context. And then we have our last stem. That is a bite with nothing on it, making it a T. So we have the word don't. So I have an idea of what this could be. I'm going to go ahead and color it. No, I'll color it in later when I cover apostrophes. Okay. So now we head back to our sentence circle, and we continue reading around until we get to the next word. Okay, it looks like this one. Okay, let's go to the bottom of that, and we'll read around it. Okay, there's that stem, and it looks like there's nothing on it. That's a B. Continue around. And there's this thing. It's a circle on the line, but it's quite a bit smaller than the B. So I think that's a vowel, because it is. It's right on the line of the word circle, making it an E. And it doesn't have any lines going inwards or outwards. This would make it an I. That would make it a U. And if it were out here, it'd be an A. And if it were in here, it'd be an O. And it looks like that's all the letters in this word. So that's the word B. So don't be. Okay, we're going to continue around. So there could have been a word here, but there isn't. Oh, there's a letter here, but looks like this word is closest to the edge right here. So this is how you tell the order of the word. So this word is effectively at this point of the circle, so like at 10 o'clock-ish. And then we go to the bottom of it. Okay, looks like this is the first letter. As I ruined this by not being able to turn my paper. And it looks like it's circle inside the circle. And let's count the dots. 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dots, L, because 3 dots on that stem is an L. Okay, we're going to continue around. Oh, hey, here's another little letter. It's a little one, which means it's going to be a vowel. So let's check our vowels. And it's hanging outside the word circle. So that's an A. So L-A. Continue on. This is going to be our next stem. Okay. Looks like that stem. Let's count the lines. 1, 2, 3 lines end on it. Okay, so 3 lines on that stem is an S. So L-A-S. Okay, continuing around. Hey, this is another circle, a little one. Let's go ahead and try to figure out what this is. It's outside, not in the middle and not inside. It has no lines on it, which means it's an A again. So L-A-S-A. And we're going to continue around. Also, even if this A were here, it would still be enclosed within this consonant, so we would still read it afterwards, even though the lines are in the middle. Okay, L-A-S-A. We're going to check this one out. And it looks like 1 line ends on it. Okay, that line on that stem means it's the stem G. Maybe you have a guess as to what this is. Anyway, continue around. Closest point, here we go. It's another circle inside the circle. And this one has the line that goes through it, so that doesn't count there, but it counts as ending on it here. So N, and we're going to continue around. And it looks like the next letter we get to is here. And that is another A. There's 3 A's in this word. So L-A-S-A-G-N-A. Don't be lasagna. Yay. Okay. And then there's this thing. I'm not sure what that thing is either. Well, hint, hint. We'll learn today. So, going around the sentence circle, you can tell that here is the first word. Here's something we don't know. And it's attached there. Here's the second word. Here's the third word. And then there's this thing. Okay. So let's try to figure out what these punctuation marks are. So the last one, kind of obviously, is a period. So this is a period. So don't be lasagna, period. Okay. Comma. Well, there's no comma in that one, but I wonder if there's a comma somewhere else. I don't know. It could be don't be lasagna, comma, if it were filled in. But commas are in the same spot as periods. They're just a filled in circle. Semicolons are really, really similar to commas, except they hang out inside the word circle, or closer to the inner circle than the outer circle, but not between them. So if a comma, if you have a filled in dot in between your sentence circles or on your sentence circles, that is a comma, but if it's not between the two, it is a semicolon. And it's normally a little bit smaller. So that's how you tell a semicolon from a comma. Question marks are similar to semicolons, except they have 2 dots. And even though they're supposed to be inside, since it's 2 dots together, I think it's fine if you put them anywhere on the word circle. On the sentence circle, because it's the only thing with 2 dots. So you could just put 2 dots, 2 commas next to each other, and you would never have 2 commas next to each other in a sentence. So context would overrule what that is, and it would be a question mark. An exclamation point, same thing. 1, 2, 3. And colons are really, really similar to the period, except it's like a double line. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in the rest of the way, because it's bothering me. But if I had 2 lines here, like a double circle, then that would be a colon. Okay? So 1 line, 2 lines makes that a colon. Now we're into our punctuation marks with lines. So a quotation mark is a single line hanging out on the sentence circle. An apostrophe is a double line hanging out on the sentence circle. And a hyphen is a triple line hanging out on the sentence circle. Now, this is the quote from Warren Sherman's guide about punctuation. This is kind of all the guidance you get. Punctuation is attached to the inner sentence circle. So that means you always keep it close to the inner sentence circle. And to avoid confusion, punctuation lines always radiate outwards. So you keep them kind of perpendicular to the sentence circle lines, so they radiate outwards, so you wouldn't put them horizontally in there. And are contained between the inner and outer sentence circle. And that's something I dislike. Mostly because there are exceptions to that. Contained between the inner and outer sentence circle. That means they have to stay inside those two circles. But I think that looks kind of silly a lot of times. And I enjoy kind of extending them sometimes. It's pretty obvious that it's not connected to anything else. And it's not touching any stems of any letters. You're fine. You'll be able to tell what it is. Because then you can do cool things kind of like this. And I think that looks much cooler. Or even like this, right? Anyway, so you can kind of extend those a little bit. And then continuing on, the exception to this rule of keeping them contained is if the punctuation is part of a word, like an apostrophe or a hyphen, for example, which extends from the word circle to the outer sentence circle. And this is an example of what that looks like. So D-O-N apostrophe T, the apostrophe has to be between the N and the T. But you also want to say it's, a punctuation mark. So this has to extend from your sentence circle to where you want it on the word. I didn't have to have it like where it goes on the punctuation line that close to the D. I could have extended it through to here and it would be fine because it would still tell me right where I want that apostrophe. What you cannot do with these lines is connect them up to a stem, because then it will just look like a line on that stem. Okay, so this is the apostrophe. Okay? Hyphens, similarly, I wrote another word here. It's Allonsy, A-L-L-O-N-S-Y. And here's the hyphen. 1, 2, 3 lines. Triple lines on that, making it a hyphen. And I also put my exclamation point in between the two sentence circles. So this is a frowned upon thing. This could be read comma, 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 but that would be silly. Well, it's not really frowned upon. People do it all the time, including me. I'm people. This ... 3 dots in the punctuation is an exclamation point. So that's Allonsy exclamation point. And here's another little tricky one I did here. So this says here apostrophe. Here's another apostrophe. I like making my apostrophes curved just because it's easier to get them where I want them to go. I don't need to color in the R. I just colored in the R. Oh well. Anyway, so H-E-R-E, here's my hidden E, apostrophe S. I'm not going to worry too much about actually reading this one because it's kind of behind things. But here's tip. And then here's semicolon, which would be, this is a little tricky thing I did, it would be a comma if it were between the inner and outer sentence circle, except I made the outer sentence circle run away. Yay! But I could see people still thinking that was a comma. I intended it to be a semicolon. But anyway, punctuation is kind of tricky to read if you're messing with the outer and inner sentence circles and are going for aesthetics, not just, legibility. And I very much go for aesthetics instead of legibility. Anyway, so semicolon. And then my last word is run. Here's a tip. Run. Seems like something the doctor would say. And I put another exclamation point here. So 3 dots, except I put those 3 dots kind of all over the place. And that's honestly that. Oh, I could make this like a quote, because don't be lasagna is actually a quote. I'm going to set a quotation mark, and I'm going to put one of them here. So quotation mark, then we have our first word. Don't be lasagna, period. And I'm going to put the other quotation mark here. And I could put Allonsy as a quote. Let me hit to the bottom. And that's a quote as well. So yeah, that is how you do punctuation. These are your punctuation marks. And I do want to chat a little bit more about what this script is. So, yes, it looks a lot like the pretty circles from the show in Doctor Who, and that's the whole point. But it is fan-made. This means just, some person who liked Doctor Who decided, I'm going to come up with a way to read pretty circles so people can make pretty circle art. But that doesn't mean it hasn't shown up in some pretty cool places to find some Easter eggs. Oh, that was sloppy. Yeah. So, these Easter eggs, many of you guys watching this will be seeing me post this video on some wild circles I found at an aquarium in Salt Lake City. Those circles are written in the script, but they're a pain to read because a lot of times the word order is not bottom counterclockwise, and it's really hard to find the bottom on wild circles, especially there, because I would figure the bottom would be towards the ground on a fence, but no, the bottom could be anywhere. And they are sometimes metal cutouts, which means instead of reading bottom counterclockwise of each word, you would read bottom clockwise because, well, you're seeing it from the back because the metal is like a front, and then you'd be seeing the mirror image of it if you were looking at the back of it. Anyway, so those are pretty hard to read for that reason, but the combination of dots and lines are similar to the script, except they do have the super secret 4 dot. So 4 dots, by the way, 4 dots on this stem. No, 4 dots on this stem is a C, like an actual C, and that's how they spelled science. I would have done science with a double S. But anyway, yeah. And then the last thing, also, it does show up in the show sometimes. The script can read some, like, I found 2 sentences that I could read in the show, using this script. And it's the only fan-made script I've ever seen appear in the show, and it's also shown up on some Doctor Who merchandise. So even though it's not the official BBC Doctor Who Gallifreyan language, because that, in fact, does not exist yet, this is the only one I've seen appear in the show. So you can find some cool Easter eggs, and maybe there'll be some more in the future. I look at them every episode just to see if I can read any of the circle art in the show. But lastly, what is this script? It is a way for you to make pretty circle art that thousands of people can actually recognize and read. This is a pretty big community of people who can look at this script and recognize it for what it is. I have run into a couple of those people in my life, and it's been pretty fantastic, and we can leave each other notes and stuff. But it's also great for tattoos, because it does have a direct meaning, and it is a script. So it is a way to make readable circles. So yeah. That was part 2. I will be doing a part 3 on the back side of this. And also, if you think this thing looks cool and is starting to become kind of an artwork in itself, there's a chance you could actually get it for you. Because in my first video, the Circles Guide Part 1, if you go back and watch that, I have a thing where if you comment a quote of 1 to 3 words, and a number from 1 to 100. I'll roll dice to see who's closest, and I will do something with part 3 with that quote. Yeah, woo. Part 3 is going to be a quick and dirty, how to write a thing real fast thing. Yeah, see ya.